You did $126,000 assignment on one
Let's
deal.
See if you can see that there.
126. Holy cow.
Yes, sir.
Dude,
yes, sir.
That is phenomenal. I love this. So we're going to break down your deal here and talk all about it. But first, tell us a little bit about you, Cam. You're in, tell me if I say this right, Puyallup? How do you say
It's one
that?
of the hardest cities. It's one of the hardest cities to pronounce over here. It's Puyallup.
Okay, Puyallup, Washington.
Yes, sir.
Where is that?
Yes, sir. So it's probably about 35 minutes south of Seattle, kind of in between Olympia and Seattle. So my family just moved up to Lake Tapps, Washington, this lake nearby. And then me and my twin brother, just bought a house in Puyallup. So that's where we're located right now. Yes, sir.
All right. And so you got started in wholesaling, learning about it less than a year ago, coming up on a year ago. And you found my YouTube channel, started to learn. And you had mentioned that the information you learned was really helpful with negotiating, how to talk to people, how to put the contracts together. And so what was your journey like? Tell us about that. You start learning about it. How long until you were ready to pick up the phone and start making offers?
Well, I have a small background in sales. I used to sell pest control in the summer. And then when COVID hit, I mean, me and my twin brother were playing football at the University of Idaho. And so things were kind of stalled with school and football as well. And so we just got on the internet and we were doing drop shipping at one point. We were flipping couches at one point, just doing everything and anything. And finally, I stumbled upon one of your videos on YouTube, I think, and just kind of looked at it. I was like, oh, this is weird. You know, I kind of heard a little bit about wholesaling, didn't know a lot. But basically just went back and forth with yours and Pace, Morby's videos. And I love both you guys. I mean, definitely, you know, I look up to both you guys. And so I was just looking at how you kind of handled yourself on the phone and did a bunch of research throughout basically the end of when I was about to graduate from college, starting maybe back last September. I graduated in December. And then in January, I moved back with my mom, me and my brother did. And basically she gave us 4 months that we got to rent or own a house by April. So, you know, we were just doing a bunch of research and we were sitting on the couch one day, watching one of your videos on the big flat screen TV that we have. And my brother was like, dude, like we've watched countless hours. Like, when are we going to start doing something, you know? Like, I was like, okay, you know? And so I was working a 9-to-5 job at the time. Hated it. I really did. But then after work, basically between 5 and basically like 7, when it was getting dark, me and him would just go drive for dollars, knock on doors. We even printed out flyers and pretended like we were this big thing, you know, and this whole thing. We dressed in suits, we dressed in ties. Like, we went the whole nine. And honestly, man, it was just luck. I mean, at the end of the day, we stumbled in this area. Like I was like, oh, you know, we're about to head out for the day. And I was like, let's just hit this last neighborhood, you know, and we were driving around. The neighborhood was really nice. So I was like, you know, I was looking on Zillow, all the houses were maybe $700,000, $800,000 in Kent, Washington. And we just found this one house and I knocked and nobody answered, but then I seen somebody poke their head out the window. And I was like, oh, okay, somebody's home, but they just don't want to talk. That's okay. And so I was at my job, man, and I got a break from work on lunch and I just dialed the phone number and somebody picked up and they answered the phone and we talked and I asked, you know, if they'd be willing to sell the home, and they were. And that's honestly where step one happened, because that first conversation was beginning of February. I didn't end up signing the docs. I think this was June or July. And so it was a long process, grueling process. I mean, just building a relationship with the homeowner, because basically the dad had passed away a year before. And this one of the daughters was living there, but she didn't have the attorney of estate. The other daughter did. And she was living in Hawaii with her husband over there. And her husband was deployed in Japan. And that was the only person I had communication with, was a guy in Japan. So the timing was so crazy. We were only able to chat like maybe once or twice a week. And it was just constant.
You just kept following up and just, at what point did they start talking about a price? Was it right away, or Did it take some time before that part?
Yeah. So the daughter that lived there, her boyfriend was kind of chatting a little bit, and he kind of threw out a price of 350. And I was like, like that makes sense. At the time in January, the homes were being appraised around the area. Comps were about maybe 500. And so I was like, okay, I could work with that for sure. Yeah. And so I didn't say yes or no. And then finally I found out that, they weren't on the estate. And so I got in contact with the real homeowner, and we didn't probably just start discussing price till the end of February. And I just asked them, I say, hey guys, I mean, I see it's a family home for you. They didn't really want to get rid of the home. They actually wanted to fix it themselves, but they lived in Hawaii. And so they're like, honestly, at this point, we're kind of ready to go. And so I was like, well, what do you want for it? And he said 300. And I was like, okay, let me get back to, some of my team and see what it looks like, comparables, and just kind of see what happens. And basically I came back to him. I was like, yeah, I mean, I think we could do 300. I mean, I think our team's looking closer at 295. Would that make sense for you? And he was like, so I finally get him under contract, 295. And
this is in June now.
So this had been February, March, April. It would have been beginning of May. Okay, so I got him under contract. About
4 months later.
Yes.
Yeah,
Sir.
and it shows you the power of follow-up, right? I mean, it took a minute, but look, you got the contract finally by staying persistent. So
the biggest thing is I almost just saw it as the golden egg. The appraised houses in the area, they were 600, 650, 700. Yeah. And so he had said 300, and I was like, great. Like I'm happy to give you what you want for it, because I feel like mostly wholesaling, you're lowballing people, or you're making offers that are really low. And this time around, it was something where this is what they wanted for it. So I was like, great. Like we're kind of killing two birds with one stone. I helped him out. The biggest thing though, is just for anybody that's going to be listening to this is the biggest thing that helped me was he had 3 other people that were basically asking to buy the house. But I was the only person that was willing to go to the house, and I was helping them move out of the house. I rented a storage unit for him. I rented a truck for him. I rented a garbage dumpster for him, all out of my pocket before I knew anything was going to happen. And so what he told me that he wouldn't have gone with me if he didn't see like the value that I brought as far as the person that I was. Like he always was texting me back and forth. He's like, I can't thank you enough. And that's kind of, it was just, as much of a big deal as it was, as much of a big deal. And I feel like, obviously they could have made a little bit more money out of it. I felt like that was the price that they wanted. And I was actually helping somebody. So it was nice to kind of see it.
Let's talk about that for a minute. And I'm really glad, Cam, that you brought this up. I feel like if you're a new wholesaler, a small wholesaler, you don't have a big operation, you can really carve a niche in the market, and you can really beat out the competition if you'll just become what I call a full service wholesaler or a relationship wholesaler. And that's going that extra mile. It's really finding out what the seller's needs are and being willing to then do those extra things that most people aren't willing to do. And that's exactly what you did. I did a deal, it's very similar to your deal in Metro Detroit, where I do a lot of deals this last summer. And it was a very similar situation. He was a hoarder. He was on an oxygen thing. He needed to move out of this big house, and we helped him find a new apartment. We helped him get a storage unit. We moved his stuff. And he's like crying on my shoulder, so grateful that we helped him out. And we even let him do a rent back and all these different things. Now that one I took down, bought and flipped, fixed and flipped, but same idea, which was, what else can I do to help you with this house? And that will go a long ways with sellers, and they will choose you over all the other competition who's not willing to build the relationship. Yeah.
Like one of the messages he sent me after I got him a dumpster, because they had a bunch of stuff. I got him I think it was a 15 yard, and I should have got him a 20. But he said, sorry, he just told me, because they came from Hawaii to help move like all the dumpster stuff out. And he said, sorry, we couldn't do more, just not enough time and work. As I mentioned before, if things were timing were different, we would have kept the house ourselves, but life happens. Thank you for all your help. Let us know whatever you need. So it ended up being that kind of relationship where we were just on the phone. I mean, as soon as he got back to Hawaii from his deployment, we were able to communicate a little bit more through the contractual process. Cause like I said, there was a bunch of hiccups. We were originally supposed to close in 21 days. It ended up taking us closer to about 45. And it was because of some of this stuff on the back end with investors that I thought I could trust and couldn't. And so ultimately ended up reaching out on Facebook was how we got our investor, but we can talk a little bit about that when.
Yeah. So you get the contract for $295, right?
Yes, sir.
And you had a 21-day closing, but then you had to extend that out. And
yes.
And how'd the seller handle that? Were they okay to extend closing?
Yeah, it was no sweat. I mean, it honestly helped them out even more because they were having some troubles getting an apartment for the folks that were living there. Just because Seattle area, it's super busy as far as people trying to get in and out. So, it actually helped them out. They're actually thankful to have another 14 days alleviate some of that stress.
And then you put on a Facebook group in Seattle, an investor group that you had this contract for sale. And then a large acquisition company, a large wholesale company stepped forward. Was it the same one you initially talked to or a different one?
It was a different one. And I actually still have a relationship with him today. He's always asking me about new deals and stuff like that. So I even kind of lessened a little bit on the upfront price.
You started at 450, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. So that's because I actually wasn't going to go 450, but the original investor that I was looking at, he asked me, "What do you want for it?" And I was like, originally I only wanted 400 or not even 400, like 350 for it. But then I was looking at some of the comps and I was like, 450. He's like, yeah, I'm looking at the comps. That makes sense. And I was like, holy cow. And that's when I told my brother, because I wish my brother was here today. Cause I mean, it was such a team effort, man.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I was like, dude, this is going to change your life. This is going to
deal of a lifetime here. So you started out at 450, but then you ended at 421 with your end buyer. He ended up coming in at 421. Which at 395, that made that $126,000 assignment. And I want to ask you, you did a single closing assignment. Did your cash buyer have an issue at all with your big assignment fee? Were they fine with it?
No, because that's actually one thing that I was chatting with him about. I was like, hey man, I'm going to be full transparent with you. This is a big deal, and so because they were double closing it. They closed it and then they wholesaled that, made like
they had a buyer. Yeah.
Yes. So I was like, no big deal. Like they're trying to double close. I end up paying for closing cost on one portion of that to help them out. Okay. Yeah. And so I told him, I said, I won't lie to you. Like this is whatever way this goes, it's going to change my life, and you're helping me change my life. And so I was like, originally, right now, we're looking at $155,000. I was like, I want a relationship with you. I want a relationship with people like you. I was like, what number makes sense to you guys to form that business model that you guys have? He goes, every deal we look to make about 10 to 15,000 bucks, man. And, right now our cash buyer is saying they'll do around 450. So, 9,000 bucks per closing there. He's like, if you could pay for closing, 421 would be perfect. And I was like, let's do it. It was really that simple for him. Like I have a video of maybe 15 plus investors at the house at one point in time. And it was like a surreal moment because 9 months ago I was in college and I was having maybe $15. I mean, all of us know if you've been to college, like at one point in time, you feel like this is rock bottom as far as financials go. And so
eating ramen noodles, wondering how you're gonna, your buddies are working for minimum wage part-time. Yeah. I mean, life changing. Think about it this way. I think I read that like the top 10% of income earners is 141,000 a year, something like that. I mean, you hit 100, you hit almost the top 10%. Now that was one deal, so you got to do it again, right? But I'm just saying, like, as a recent graduate, 20-some-year-old kid that just learned about this strategy to go and do that, you said the word earlier, luck, and certainly there's some luck that played into this. But honestly, I don't really think about it that way because you and your brother were willing to do what most people aren't willing to do, and that's knock doors. That's actually get in your car, drive into town, and walk up to a house and knock on the freaking door. Most people are not willing to do that. They're just not. They're not going to do it. And you were willing to do it.
Yeah.
So Cam, you deserve every freaking penny that you earned because you were willing to do what most people aren't willing to do. You earned every penny of it. Not luck at all.
I appreciate that, Jerry. Yeah, I'm more mentioning the idea like we could have hit a different neighborhood, and it's all about the idea of that. But it's like, I'm patting myself on the back a little bit as, I walked on to the University of Idaho to play football. I tore my ACL. Like it was always just like trials and tribulations. And it just like me and my brother we grew up with a single mom that had us when she was 16. So we just knew what hard work looked like. We had the intangibles of work ethic. And so, yes, the knocking doors, the calling, it's all part of the game here. And it's like, if you're willing to do it, it will, it'll come back tenfold for you as far as karma goes and helping out.
You know what, Cam, your mom is awesome. You said something earlier, and I just want to tell your mom that she's an A+ mom. You said that she told you and your brother, you guys got 4 months to figure it out, right? Like, you're not just going to stay at home. You guys got to figure out what you're doing in your life. And that's good parenting, because now you're thinking, man, I can't just ride off of mom. I got to go figure my life out, and I got to go make something of myself. And you did, you took action and you went and you did it. And I hope that this now is propelling you into an amazing career in real estate, because that deal you did, you can do it again and again and again. You can keep doing deals. Isn't that exciting? That was what you did there. Now build on that, start working on some systems and processes and some consistency, and you can keep doing deals.
Yeah, no, it's 100% exciting. I'm definitely, I can't wait to see what the future holds. Definitely real estate is definitely what I've just, it's a new thing for me, but it's now something I get really excited about. And it's just something that I know there's so many possibilities and different avenues of real estate that you can go. It's pretty fun. You know why, Cam, you're going to do well. Here's why you're going to do well. If you're willing to do pest control and solar, and if you're not afraid to talk to people, you will dominate this business. You're going to do so well, because just being able to talk to people and not being afraid of that, not having a fear of rejection, not making that mean something about you, puts you miles ahead of most people in the business. Mm-hmm. Most people do whatever they can to avoid talking to people and doing sales and making offers, and they try to get out of that at all costs and find a way around that, and rather than embrace it. And so if you've knocked doors, I did a church mission in Argentina, and for 2 years I knocked doors. And so when it came time to do wholesaling, I did so well, because it just felt like the same thing I'd learned how to do as a missionary. Just talk to people, find out what's their concerns and listen, and then be willing to say, hey, I think I have a solution for you. Just doing that is going to put you, and you do it every day over and over again, you're going to get deals. Just a numbers game. So that's awesome. And never lose that spirit. Wholesaling is marketing and sales. It's not real estate. It's marketing and sales. Okay, so Cameron, you're a flipping genius. Guys, leave a comment and tell Cameron, great job. Congratulations. You are a flipping genius. Super happy for you. Tell your brother that I'm super proud of you guys.